Radio in motion. Program loading in 3, 2, 1. Program activated.
Attention everyone, the unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake.
Okay, first things first, what is your name?
This is Big Sonny playing the best of the 90s and beyond.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Radio in motion.
Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go.
All right, ready? Here we go.
Radio in motion.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining me on Radio in Motion. Now we're going to have another installment of The Ugly Truth. Now the truth can be ugly, but the truth can set you free. So tonight I wanted to talk a bit about, if you've heard, obviously, who's joined the campaign in the USA. I do think it's interesting that R.F.K Jr. is now on the side of the Trump campaign, and it's just interesting that he is certainly historically and even his historic family, obviously lineage with JFK, he is certainly sort of the ultimate Democrat and liberal. So that's why I always try to say, everyone gets so obsessed with left and right and parties and Democrat and Republican and liberal, and all of that is pointless. You really just have to choose. Like I told someone recently, you choose for whoever you think speaks for you, and if you think that's the right person, then that's the choice. I don't take sides. I take what I think is logical and the right choice. Like I say, to represent you, and I would dare say I'm more a humanist. Maybe close to anarchists, but definitely not socialist anarchists. But no, seriously, I'm on the side of humans. So before I get into our topic, which is talking about one of the things R.F.K Jr. is passionate about, and it's what he mentioned, one of the things he would work on if Trump were elected and part of the campaign and his cabinet, which is delving into and dealing with really just the horrible corruption and hubris in sort of the huge food market, and that means all those in the FDA and everyone who's really essentially just corrupt and pushing what really isn't food, and especially on the kids. So he really wants to drain that swamp. But speaking of swamps, before I get into that, when everyone gets so divisive about who's going to be elected, again, frankly, the whole thing's a swamp. All of the U.S. government right now, and many other politicians around the world, it's the same sort of thing. It's just a swamp of people who are there for their own needs and their own devices, and to make money and to keep power and get more power. So I really could care less in a way, because either choice is probably not going to be great. So that's the truth of it. It's a swamp. If I talk about Trump or I talk about Kamala Harris, it's like you have to pick a side. You're either a Trumper or you've got Trump derangement syndrome. And I'd rather have either. Like I say, stop trying to be woke. Why don't you just be awake? Why don't you just have a rational conversation about whatever the topic is? And I'm willing to say things like, Trump is aligned with a lot of Silicon Valley, and he's obsessed with sort of centralizing crypto, and that really gets into the fact of having your money, which you just think, Bitcoin sounds great, and cryptocurrency and all of this, that's another way of control. Again, imagine if you're on the wrong side of a narrative, or you chose the wrong political side, your assets could be frozen. And you can look that up. That's already happened in the world, happened in the UK and in Canada. So I could say he's on the side of that. He's on the side of big tech. And I could also say, Kamala Harris is certainly on the side of the warmongers, considering that, someone like Dick Cheney, oh my God, totally ingrained in the military-industrial complex, is backing her. And again, and she's certainly in bed with Big Pharma. And when I say she, I really just mean all the people that are controlling her. So frankly, when I talk about anything political, and everyone assumes the minute you say something positive about Trump, you're a Trumper, you're a maniac, you're a racist, And if you say something against Kamala Harris, yes, I must be, anti-democratic. I am just looking at the facts as always, and frankly, even with that recent debate, everyone could see that it was stacked in favor of Kamala Harris. ABC handled that terribly. It was 3-on-1. It was ridiculous, and that's been coming out more and more now. And I even heard someone chatting recently saying, "Oh well, it's good that they fact checked Trump." Yes, and that's all they did. Isn't that hilarious? They only fact checked him. The fact is they didn't fact check her. So again, if you're going to run any of those sort of debates, and again, I know it's all bread and circuses. It's just a big show. It's all ridiculous on either end. But if you're going to do it, have an actual debate, then you have to have impartial mediators, and that's a fact. And they didn't, and it was horrible, and it was embarrassing. So, when it comes to that stuff, yeah, I guess I am on Trump's side if he's the underdog and not being treated fairly. I'm sorry he's a white male. I know you want to cancel him. He's the devil. And that's the other thing, like I say, with sort of Trump derangement syndrome. And I can honestly say, my mom sort of has that. She cracks me up. She'll say things like, "Oh, don't say anything mean against my next president," because for her, it's Kamala Harris at all costs, because she wants to tick that box, and she has such disdain for Trump on a personal level that she won't consider that one person or the other might be better or worse for the country. Also, and this is hilarious, do you remember when Trump was actually a sweetheart of Hollywood? Yeah, look those clips up if you can find them. They're still out there. When he was on Oprah, she would say things like, "I think we should run. I think we should run together." He was on The View. They loved him. How is that? Whoopi used to get all giddy and laugh. "Oh, it's just Trump." And his biggest opposition right now, the total gaslighter himself, Colbert, when he was on Colbert's show, when he first ran, Colbert was all over him, saying, I'm glad you're running. Good for you. Good for you." And Trump was saying things like, "Yep, wherever we're going, our numbers are looking better and better." And Colbert goes, "You know what? I'm not surprised." And Trump goes, I'm liking this guy a lot." And Colbert goes, "I'm liking you too." So that just shows you how, again, like I say, Hollywood, they're just the ultimate, shills. They just go wherever the wind blows, wherever they're told, wherever the money and the narrative goes. They have no minds of their own. So I just, remember, it's funny how we memory hole all that stuff that for some reason Trump was spawned out of the depths of hell to come and cast us all into horrible times. And there was a time when everyone loved him. The media loved him. He was on TV, and they thought it was great that he ran for president. Oh, what a refreshing change. So again, that's just a quick thing to say. I think the climate is just so divisive and so messed up. And again, as you've seen in the news, I'm sure, a second assassination attempt on his life. I'm just saying, that seems unprecedented, that in one summer, he's been people have tried to kill him twice. And of course, it'll just be assumed, because he's the devil. Again, when the mainstream media tells you enough that someone is Hitler, well, I guess, everyone just believes it. So again, all that aside, I am curious about R.F.K Jr. in addressing a lot of the issues with the Food and Drug Administration, especially in the USA, but it is Australia and UK. It certainly creeps in, and I will say America probably, unfortunately, is a big influence on that, on just really, really bad food with bad ingredients. And he really says he's going to, look into sort of draining that swamp. And when I talk about horrible foods, again, I'm talking about when you read the ingredients and they say things like artificial sweeteners, high fructose syrup, sodium nitrates, and my favorite, natural ingredients. Natural ingredients is literally a registered trademark. That's like when McDonald's says, pure beef. It says beef when it's got a little R next to it, because they've registered the name to not really mean what you think it means. So yeah, natural ingredients just all clumped together. And so a lot of this, again, you have to think, how can America, which is supposed to be, leading the world in high-tech scientific revolutions, and especially in the world of health, and when it comes to that, you'd think they'd be at the forefront. But really, and this was during COVID, more Americans died of COVID than in most of the other countries. Why? Because they are freaking unhealthy and obese. And my God, more than 1 in 3 have all increased risk of type 2 diabetes, which is absolutely derived from nothing more than all the crappy food and the sugar and all the ingredients that they're eating, and all those, pre-served up little packages, ready to go kind of food. And that's where I wanted to start. That's what I want to talk about tonight, is really get stuck into what our idea of food is. And by the way, I'm not pointing my finger down and preaching to you all like I haven't done it. I eat at McDonald's. I eat junk food. I have a real donut problem at work. This is known. But again, I'm aware of it, and I'm someone that still wants to have an open discussion about, and especially it's how you eat at home. Yeah, okay, I'm already making excuses. When you're out and about, yes, it's hard, but you do have to think about it consciously, what you're putting in your body. And yeah, I'm no different. I'm just as bad. I'm aware of it, and I want you to be aware of it, so that when you go to the doctor, you're not so surprised, and especially in America, when they're so surprised how unhealthy they are. So the biggest thing right now is, and again, I could be a conspiracy theory nut. Always do your own research, look this up yourself, and also think about if it sounds logical. A lot of this has always come from, again, I'll be honest, a healthy person doesn't really do anybody any good, especially if you're in the business of selling someone, medication. If you're in the business of using, someone's unhealthiness to your gain. So some of the original sort of villains in this story honestly come from the tobacco industry and tobacco scientists. So many of them, just when obviously, yes, there was a time when the target was on their back. It still is, but in the 90s, the target was squarely on the tobacco industry's back. And frankly, most of them just did a sidestep, and they went to work for the Food and Drug Administration. And those same influences and scientists and lobbyists, let me tell you, and if you don't know what lobbying is, that is one of the biggest things in the U.S. There's always someone in someone's ear, in some scientist somewhere, who probably joined the FDA having, altruistic passions to do better and to do good. And somewhere along the line, believe me, whoever the money men are, when the money men come in and say, well, we're going to donate millions, billions, but you're going to do this and say this about the product. And lobbyists, that's what they do in the government. They literally sit there, and when someone goes, Senator, I want to pass a bill that this is bad and smoking is bad, there'll be 20 lobbyists, lawyers, there to say, well, this is why it's not, and also here's all the money and research we've done to prove it. So they're the original influencers. They're the original influencers, and they have big money. So those tobacco scientists moved over to the FDA, and you think you want to trust something like the Food and Drug Administration or anything in your country. You want to trust that someone's overseeing your health, that they're doing the right thing by you, but they're not. It's not always the case. And one of the biggest problems with health is chronic conditions and chronic disease. And frankly, it doesn't come from outer space. It doesn't always come from something inherently genetic that's inside you. It comes from the crap you're putting in your body. A lot of it is coming from that. And I'm talking about like the seriously ultra processed foods. And yes, by the way, I even mean all the fancy vegan foods and all the fake meat that they want to create in a science lab, when you can just go out there and eat food from nature like God intended, sorry to say. All of that engineered food, when all the ingredients is mostly numbers, you've got to understand that something is wrong. And even just before you get to like all the processed food, and you eat the candy bar, the healthy one that has all the nuts, and it's high nutrition and healthy, and it's got that score on it. And you look at it, does that look right to you? This funny little rectangle all compressed with shiny, glistening, strange orbs of nuts and all clamped together, and you put it in your body and go, I'm healthy, I'm going to go for a jog. No, eat a carrot, dude. All right, eat some broccoli, get over it. And, when it comes to things like all the seed oils, and I know it's hard, it's difficult when it's on the shelf and it's sitting right there and it says, I'm easy, cook with me. I'm cheaper, cook with me. Canola oil, peanut oil, vegetable oil. I love how vegetable oil sounds great, and people will even argue with that. It's vegetable oil. No, it's not natural in the way it's produced. And again, I'm not someone who not trying to do scare tactics. I just want everyone to be educated. And it used to be that you could, it was all about educating yourself. But now, and I hate this, when someone looks something up themselves, and I don't just mean Google it and believe the first thing you see. I'm talking about actually research it, use your brain. When you used to do that, you were smart to do that, especially when it came to your own health. But nowadays, no, that's just someone. You're just trying to Google things and look for information on your own. That's ridiculous. Now you're another conspiracy theorist. That's sad when you do your own research and now you're cast out and canceled for doing that. But yeah, everything is filled with seed oils and corn syrup. Oh my God! Again, this is certainly all over the world, but definitely in the USA. I mean, look, corn is one of the huge crops, as you see in a lot of the movies. That's true. You drive through the Midwest, and it's nothing but cornfields. And from that is one of the worst things in the world, and it's corn syrup. And it is the magic replacement for sugar. And in some ways, dare I say, actual, authentic, real sugar is probably better than even corn syrup. By the way, before I say anything else, everything in moderation, everything in balance. You know what I mean? I'm not saying to be so pedantic and stuck on something and focus that you become the kind of health nut that is now not even enjoying life. You can go out and you can have a cookie now and again. You can have a balanced diet in your life, and a little bit of sugar, a little bit of chocolate. It gets the endorphins going. These are natural, again, ingredients that aren't going to make you drop dead. Again, assuming you're not already 300 pounds and you already have some issue, or you're not diabetic. Again, all things balanced, nothing in excess either way. And again, so I'm not just like canceling sweets, but corn syrup certainly is a huge problem in America. So many kids eating so much crap with that corn syrup in it. And so you hear this phrase called some people live in like a food desert, which is really saying they're in an area where they don't have access to the kind of fresh food, fresh vegetables and fruit and natural foods that we're talking about, that maybe they're in the city or they're remote. And so all they have is a local convenience store and they buy a lot of their food there. You're not wrong. That's a real thing. And that is sad when you don't have access to good food, even if you are educated on how to make it. And again, I'm not saying about comfort foods and having nothing to do with the foods that were passed down to you from generations that, again, were probably still made with better, more natural things. Even butter is not the devil. It's more natural than some of this, the seed oils and corn syrup and all this crap. But yes, like a food desert, there's a void in that. And why is that? Yeah, that does have to be addressed. It does. I agree. Because if you don't have access to that, you can't cook fresh food. You're just going to eat whatever's at the local 7-Eleven near your house. And that's not good. But it's about having a conversation. And the things I talk about here are never, again, I've said this before, they're never once against anything like your doctor or the medical community or someone you're seeing for your health. Again, I would hope their entire aim is to steer you in the right direction for your best health. But what I am going to mention here, and this is more in the U.S. than Australia, it does seem like sometimes the medical community at large, they're very strict at following and adhering to a regular succession of shots or vaccines that you need. These are very clear, and they present these to you in a very clear way. This is your schedule, and this is what you need, and you'll take these shots or whatever it is, and that's all very clear and scientific and mathematic and quantifiable. But then when it comes to food, and again, this is more in the U.S., it seems like everything gets a bit vague. There's this huge push now to talk about the huge obesity problem, and especially so much in children, that all of obesity is genetic, and all of it is in your mind, and it's a mental thing. Okay, for the very specific cases, that is something genetic, something that you can't help. Of course, that does exist, but I'm going to be honest. Once you put that aside, everyone left over who is able to eat the correct things and exercise and have a regular balanced diet and life, they have the ability to do that, and they don't. That is 100% on them. So this is more a lifestyle illness. Okay, it's like a lifestyle illness. It really is. It's about convenience, just like our phone, just like Uber Eats, ordering food. It's about changing that mindset to understand that it's not all about the convenient food, because that's the worst. Pretty much everything in the center of the supermarket is terrible. Everything on the edge, usually that's where the vegetables and the meat and the fruit and all the natural foods are. Everything in the middle is mostly just bad. Everything sitting next to the household cleaners and pesticides and toxic things, next to that is the candy bar aisle. So this is all bad. And the thing is yes, it's going to have to be a lifestyle switch, this fast food lifestyle. You keep eating that poison. And then what this is leading to, and yes, I'm sorry, Big Pharma is involved, because why would they want you healthy? The magic here is to keep eating the crappy food, keep eating the poisonous food, and then take a pill to fix yourself, because that's easier, and that's the way to go. So put all that money into the pills. And I'm going to bring up a touchy subject, a touchy one. I'm going to land on Ozempic. Ozempic being the miracle drug to have you lose weight. And again, I'm sorry, but there are FDA shills who are paid to push the safety of this kind of drug. And again, like many drugs, originally designed for something else, originally designed to fight diabetes. The side effect that they noticed was rapid weight loss. Now, again, let me say this. We live in an amazing scientific world, and there are drugs that are saving people right now, and that is fantastic, and I hope that continues. I hope we're always on the cutting edge of working with scientists and doctors in the medical community. I'm not knocking any of that. We do live in a modern miracle world, and we're lucky for that. Having said that, there's also a dark side, and Big Pharma is part of that dark side, because it's trillions, folks. It's the kind of money you can't even imagine. And the thing is these kind of things have happened before. And I remember this when I was a kid. I do remember this. Do you remember Fen-Phen? Yes, that was another huge weight loss miracle drug. That was approved in 1986. But ultimately that was linked to heart valve diseases. And after 18 million prescriptions, finally pulled in 1987. But again, it was pushed in a similar way as this sort of miracle. And, like any drug, as long as you're aware and you read that giant list that nobody reads, that giant book of side effects, as long as you accept that, and just like you do to your iPhone, every time you agree to that long list of privacy things, you go, yeah, whatever. I want my iPhone. I don't care. When you tick that box, yes, you accept the risks. I get that. And everything in this life has risk. Nothing is risk-free. I'm not that naive. Nothing is risk-free. But again, I think there are dangers here when they're pushing something that's such a quick fix. To push something like Ozempic as a quick fix for everyone to lose weight, especially when their weight gain was based on something that could be fixed by changing their diet. Nothing to do with genetic or inherited or something like that, something they can't help. Something they can help. Ozempic's not for you because you're lazy shit. As simple as that. And again, I'm not a doctor. Look up Ozempic yourself. If you're looking at getting into that, talk to your doctor. That's what doctors are for. But when you think of this drug, that the side effect is quick weight loss, quick fix, it's a worry. And yeah, there are things that are concerning. You can look them up. It's actually paralyzing your digestive tract. It doesn't mean that kills you, but it's something that's essentially, it's slowing down your stomach's digestive tract and emptying and that natural process. And for some, this has led to adverse effects. So I'm just saying, I think we live in this fast food world. We just put all the junk down and all the poison down. By the way, I'm not blaming us. I'm not blaming the people. I'm blaming the world created around you, because it was easier to do that. It was easier to feed you all junk than to try to find a way to cultivate good foods for communities. And the quick fix is, now that you've all got chronic disease and you're all overweight and you're unwell, along comes the pharmaceutical to save you. Hooray, they've saved us from our own thing that we already created. Oh, it's cyclical. Okay, got them sick and then cured them. I don't like that, do you? So that's what I'm saying. That's the problem here. And don't think Ozempic, all that money, by the way, that's not even an American drug. That's all going overseas. It's a company in Europe, one of the biggest right now, one of the biggest companies. And guess where they're getting all their profit from? America. All the big fatties in America. So again, by the way, they're also pushing, and when I say, I mean the lobbyists and Ozempic and even the FDA, they're pushing to have this covered by Medicare. Yes, America has Medicare as well, like Australia. It's just a bit different. And I think that, again, that is not the right direction to say, sure, it's something that should be covered by your insurance, and let's just inject you with this, and then now you're hooked on Ozempic forever. I don't think that's the way to go, folks. Again, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not anti-drug. I'm not anti-science. I'm just about stop and look both ways and have a think first, okay? Have a serious think about it. And I do think it's also interesting. I want to touch on the fact that the only two countries in the world, USA and New Zealand, are the only ones that advertise direct to the public. Anyone who's traveled to the U.S. knows the minute you turn the TV, it's hilarious. The TV show ends. There might be a advertisement for a car, a tire shop, and then next comes up, it's Ozempic, or it's something, it's whatever it is that magically makes you feel better and fixes everything. And it's hilarious. So many drugs where it just shows people like running through a field, and it's a sunny day and all the kids and everyone's happy, and it goes, it'll change your life, Ozempic, everything you need to finally be you. Finally time to set yourself free. All this cheesy marketing. And then at the end, it's the funniest part. They go through a quick scroll of all the ingredients, Side effects may call it hair loss, limb loss, stomach cancer, and possible death. Otherwise, it's good for you. And they're just running, da-da-da, and the sun sets. Talk to your local pharmacist. So how can you compete with that? With that's in your face every day, being inundated with advertisements on how, rather than just going out in the sunshine for a bit, getting some natural vitamin D, getting some exercise, walking the dog, and changing your diet from eating all that crap and maybe having some broccoli and a banana and a carrot. And by the way, that also does include meat. You know what I mean? Everyone who thinks that immediately you become vegan, you become healthier. I know some vegans who look unhealthy and are overweight, folks. That's a fact. You're not going to die from eating too much meat or vegetables. That's a fact. You can go crazy on broccoli. Yeah, your pee might come out funny, but you're not going to die. Isn't that funny? Nobody OD'd on broccoli. Okay, you're not going to OD on meat and vegetables and natural foods. So this is all I'm saying about when the food is the poison. And it is hard because we live in that society where it's convenient and it's easier. So I'm going to end it with this. Rather than spending all this money, spending billions on this drug to cure us from the crappy food we eat, why don't we fix the crappy food? And this is what I hope R.F.K Jr. is looking into. Agriculture isn't the devil or the enemy. The ways of doing it sometimes are. Big agriculture is just like big pharma. It's a business, and it's about making it cheap and selling it for more. That's like anything in the world. You got to make a profit, but there are ways to do that that are, the most fun phrase for all the climate activists, the whole net zero. They always want to tell you that it's all about the meat industry, all the cows, all the methane. Cow farts are killing us. They're destroying the ozone. They are adding to our carbon footprint. For thousands of years, people have cultivated the land, and that it has included animals for meat, and all of this was done in a carbon neutral way. You're kidding me. How can that be? That's a fact. Carbon neutral, almost zero actually, because the natural process of the steer out there and eating the grass, and yes, even sometimes something as ridiculous as their urine was a natural pesticide. What? A natural pesticide? Again, I know it sounds overly complicated because all we know how to do today is just make giant fields and giant cattle lots, and yeah, that stuff doesn't help. We need to rethink how we do that. Food is not the enemy. Natural food is not the enemy. There's a way to do it. There's a way to have all of your steers and cows, and to get your goods and grow your vegetables and have it in a symbiotic, net zero, carbon neutral way. Why don't we spend our money on that? So you say, well, how do we do that? How come we're not doing it? Okay, then let's figure it out. Let's spend the money on that rather than a drug that has more side effects and is doing more harm than good. That's just a thought. That's my 2 cents worth. Spend the money on that. Spend the money on good science. I love good science. Good science is awesome. So that's all I had to say about that. And look, I didn't even get stuck into things like all the natural foods you're eating also have horrible pesticides already ingrained into them, already woven into the molecules of the food. That's a whole other story. And again, we certainly need to get stuck into that because, a lot of the vegetables you eat already have horrible pesticides on them. So you're trying to eat healthy, and the food you picked up at the market, it's already pre-poisoned. So again, I know that makes your head spin, but these are the things that I hoped that we can select the right people to speak for us. And I'm sorry if some of those ideas might come from the evil Trump side, orange man bad. I'm sorry. It is what it is. If this came more from the Kamala Harris side, then that'd be great. And I would choose that. I would choose the person I think best speaks for my health and well-being as a human to continue to be happy on this earth and contribute. Hey, does that sound crazy? I think that sounds good to me. So whoever that is, you choose them. And on my final note, and I used to love cereal, of course. I used to say the cereal aisles in the USA, it was a glorious Willy Wonka candy factory. But let me tell you, folks, that's one thing you really start to need to cut out. And don't be fooled by all those ratings. They crack me up. Like the 4.5 and 3.5 stars on the cereal. Yeah. That globular mass of gloopy, glistening thing that's floating in your milk, I don't care what stars it has. It's not food. It's bad. It's disgusting. Get it out of your house. All right? That's a fact. And that rating, folks, that rating was bought and paid for long ago. I used to joke about that 10 years ago with someone saying, I picture them all in a boardroom and they're like, all right, what rating should we give this cereal? Well, what did they donate? We didn't get enough donations from Kellogg's. Well, looks like it's a 2.5. We got a new donation and we're getting backed by this other company. Oh, all right. That cereal gets a 4.5. Doesn't mean anything. It's all bullcrap. Read the ingredients. If you can't recognize them, it's probably because they're unrecognizable. All right, folks, that's all I've got for my my big food segment. Thanks for joining me tonight on our 90s Drive. More great music up next after a word from our sponsors.